everyone. Thanks for joining us on Chicago Tonight. I'm Brandis Friedman. Here's what we're looking at.
We believe in the promise of America.
Presidential candidate Kamala Harris selects her running mate. Our Spotlight Politics team has local reaction. The Chicago Police Department misses a deadline to study on how officers are deployed. And the Paris Olympics wrap up this weekend. A look at the big wins and historic moments for Team America. And now to some of today's top stories. The pick is in. Presidential candidate Kamala Harris is choosing Minnesota Governor Tim Walz to be her running mate on the Democratic ticket.
A promise of freedom, opportunity, and justice, not just for some, but for all. So, Pennsylvania, I'm here today because I found such a leader. Governor Tim Walz of the great state of Minnesota.
The Harris-Walz signs were already printed when the pair appeared together for the first time at a rally in Philadelphia that kicked off just about 30 minutes ago. Harris says the 60-year-old governor has, quote, delivered for working families as a governor, coach, teacher, and a veteran. While Governor J.B. Pritzker was also among the contenders for the number 2 spot on the ticket, he says Harris and Walz have his full support.
I come to work every day knowing that we can make a difference, and we have over the last 5.5 years. So I continue to come to work with a great deal of joy and not sorry at all about the fact that we have a terrific Midwestern governor in Tim Walz that's been chosen. And I'm going to go out and support him and the ticket and Kamala Harris every day.
Harris and Walz will be running against Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump and his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance of Ohio. Today, Vance called Walz's record a joke, labeling him one of the most far-left radicals in government. Our Spotlight Politics team will have more on this and more in just a few minutes. Now, Governor Pritzker made the remarks that you just heard while he was signing a bill aimed at making it easier for people being released from prison to obtain a state-issued ID card.
I can tell you firsthand that obtaining a state ID is one of those critical barriers for women coming home because it creates considerable challenges with employment, housing, and more. And the worst thing about these kinds of barriers is that women are punished for surviving when we cannot overcome them.
The governor's office and advocates say getting an ID while re-entering the community is often made harder because of the Social Security card requirement. This legislation makes it easier by eliminating the need for a physical card. Incarcerated individuals can start the process while still in custody and have the ID ready upon release, making it easier to apply for jobs, housing, a bank account, and to receive health care. Chicago public school officials are reminding parents to get their students up to date on their vaccines ahead of the first day of school. The district says physical examinations and proof of required immunizations must be submitted to school administrators by October 15th. And the first day of school for CPS is August 26th. It's been pushed back a week while the city hosts the Democratic National Convention. For details on how to access your child's official immunization records, please visit our website, WTTW.com/news. Up next, details on a missed deadline by the Chicago Police Department. Our Spotlight Politics team on that and more right after this.
Chicago Tonight is made possible in part by the Alexandra and John Nichols family, the Jim and Kay Mabey family, the Polk Brothers Foundation, and the support of these donors.
Democratic candidate for president Kamala Harris chooses her running mate today. Meanwhile, the Chicago Police Department misses a deadline to launch a study on how officers are deployed, and the CTA takes another step towards updating its transit system. Here with all that and more is our Spotlight Politics team, Amanda Vinicky, Heather Sharon, and Nick Blumberg. Hey, gang. So let's start with the Veep stakes, right? Amanda, who is Tim Walz and why'd she choose him?
So I don't know exactly why she chose him, because some of this I think really is chemistry, and that it's got to be part of that. I think that's something that we really do often ignore. This is supposed to be a partner, somebody that you can count on, somebody that you've got to trust and really get along with. So I think that's really part of it. But he's also a two-term governor of Minnesota, a state that has gained Democratic majorities in the legislature there, and really accomplished a lot of the big ticket items, similar to, frankly, what we've seen in Illinois in terms of protections for reproductive rights, leave for workers, all of those sort of things. He also has some of the things that you might be wanting in a candidate to sort of appeal to a base, things like he was in the Army National Guard, so he has military experience, served in Congress, so knows Washington. Those are all the sort of things, and I think also importantly, he is somebody that seems to be, at least thus far, accepted by all parts of the Democratic Party, the moderates as well as the progressives that had some questions about some of her other potential picks.
Heather, how has the party responded so far?
Well, everybody, as Amanda said, across the board is thrilled. When you have Senator Joe Manchin from West Virginia and Representative Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez singing from the same hymnal and both praising Tim Walz as the absolute right choice, that tells you a little bit about why Vice President Harris picked him. But of course, the rubber meets the road. More than 70% of Americans have no idea who this kindly looking white-haired guy is. And they are going to learn a lot about him in short order. And it can be bumpy, as I think Senator J.D. Vance would tell his new sort of counterpart. Sometimes it doesn't always go to plan. Now, that said, Tim Walz has a lot more experience as a politician than J.D. Vance does, and certainly Harris is hoping that those decades of experience will prove well as he starts campaigning all across the country with her across all of the swing states this week.
In the prerogative, not perhaps necessarily to bring more people on board. There was a lot of talk, of course, about the governor of Pennsylvania and trying to win that battleground state, but it can also be, to your point about Vance, picking somebody who isn't going to steer folks away, even if he doesn't maybe bring in more votes to the Harris campaign. You don't want to lose them.
Well, and the Pennsylvania question, too, I think there's a lot of doubt as to whether this notion that, someone from even a very popular governor will necessarily bring along their home state when it is a swing state like Pennsylvania. So I don't think, the argument, certainly, the path to 270 for the Harris ticket, Pennsylvania is a really, really key state for them. But Josh Shapiro doesn't guarantee that they get it.
Nick, while we're on it, what has the Republicans' reaction been to this ticket?
Well, to steal Heather's phrase, they've certainly been singing from the same hymnal, but they are not exactly songs of praise. They worked really quickly to paint Tim Walz as, far left. Illinois GOP chair Kathy Salvi called him a radical leftist. She also took the opportunity to take a dig at, another Midwesterner who was in the running, J.B. Pritzker, saying Americans can breathe easy, that Pritzker is not going to be the VP on the ticket. We heard from the national Republicans as well, really trying to tie Tim Walz, as they have many Democrats this election cycle, to the influx of new arrivals at the southern border, saying that Minnesota has been a top destination for migrants coming into the United States. Of course, that overlooks the fact that Tim Walz really had nothing to do with this. Migrants who have been bused by Texas Governor Greg Abbott to New York. There was a program that New York's mayor put into place to give them bus tickets to allow them to move to other cities in the United States. And the fact that, some of those migrants chose the Twin Cities, certainly you can say that's because of Minnesota's welcoming policies toward them, but it's not as though this was something that, Walz engineered necessarily.
I think we'll also see Republicans make an issue of Walz being governor during the protests that followed after George Floyd's murder. And so that's certainly that we're going to be hearing a lot about. And did he wait too long? Did he do the right thing in calling in the National Guard?
So we've mentioned Governor Pritzker, and we heard a little bit of his response earlier in the show. Amanda, because obviously he was in the spotlight a little bit when he was in contention and going through the vetting process, though he was not chosen, obviously. What has he said in response to today?
He actually got somewhat candid today after being really cagey and sort of coy about how far along he was in this process and how it went. We didn't get a ton of details, but he did say things like you would expect, such as it was an honor and he's going to continue to support the Harris ticket. He revealed that he knows knows Walz and considers Walz a friend, that they were governors elected the same year, went through the COVID pandemic together, and made a lot of sort of similar decisions in terms of their executive orders with masking and such. So he said all of those things. We also questioned him this morning about his political future. And is he looking at, for example, running again for governor in 2 years, seeing as he won't be on the ticket? Or would he consider a position in President Harris's cabinet, should that be an offer made available to him? And he didn't go there. He said he isn't contemplating either of those things right now, that he loves his job as governor of Illinois and he's accomplished a lot, but he wants to do more.
Not playing any of those what-if games, but he did reveal that the vetting process that he was involved in was extensive. I think grueling was the word that he used.
Grueling and long.
Grueling and long, even though they did not have a lot of time. So some notable Illinoisans, though, on the campaign trail supporting this ticket. Interestingly, some of them calling themselves Republicans for Harris. Nick, who's on this?
Well, there are some pretty notable Illinois names. Former Congressman Adam Kinzinger, Joe Walsh, former Governor Jim Edgar. We've been hearing from former Obama-era transportation secretary, but a longtime Republican politician, Ray LaHood, whose son, Darren, is currently in Congress, is all in for the Trump-Vance ticket. But these are folks who are what you would think of as the traditional Illinois Republican, not necessarily the folks who have the reins of power in the state party right now. This is people who were able to appeal to a wide swath of voters and who have been very upfront about seeing Trump as a threat to democracy, to the norms of the government, to some of the boundaries that should be around the presidency and the executive branch. We've also seen Kinzinger's former chief of staff is taking a role with the National Harris campaign as director of Republican outreach. So, clearly there are some folks here who are willing to cross party lines for what they see as a candidate who at least is far closer to their moderate principles than, the guy at the top of the Republican ticket.
What's the likelihood that this group will be able to bring along some of those, maybe disgruntled Illinois Republicans who aren't pleased with the current position of the National Republican Party?
Well, Illinois is a blue state, so they're not playing for the margins here, but they're trying to set up a permission structure for Republicans in other states so they'd see people like Jim Edgar and Ray LaHood and say, well, you know what, if Harris is okay for them, maybe she's okay for me, and maybe I'm going to give her a second look. But we're talking about votes on the margins here.
Right. Heather, City Council giving CPD gave CPD 90 days to launch this study that would look into how the department is deploying officers. Remind us what the study would do and why the City Council passed it.
Well, you would think it would be a simple question to answer, right? Where do officers work? When do they work? And what do they do? But it is not a simple answer. And for the first time in decades, the City Council said, look, CPD, you need to figure out how to tell us where our officers are. And not only that, but this is required by the consent decree, the federal court order that has ordered CPD to reform itself. So they gave the CPD 90 days to figure out a third-party group to figure out how to do this work and to get it started. That work is now 2 months overdue. And there are real questions based on a new audit by the Inspector General, Deborah Witzberg, how CPD is tracking sort of any of how the officers are assigned. Now, the Inspector General said, look, I'm looking into this. Can you get me more data on this? And CPD said, sure, happy to. It has been more than a year since that data has been offered. And sort of the underlying politics of all of this is that officer assignments is a zero-sum game. You can put one officer in one place, and if they're there, they're not somewhere else. And that is a political decision. It also means that you could see parts of the north side and downtown sort of maybe having too many officers when you consider the number of murders and shootings and violent crimes that occur on the south and the west side. But if you're an older person, you definitely don't want to see officers redeployed from your areas. So this is a big issue, and it is one that potentially a federal judge could get involved with if the city doesn't act.
Okay, so let's get to a little bit of transportation news before we get to a couple other things. Before we run out of time, Nick. So the city, they cut the ribbon on the new L stop at Damon and Lake just yesterday. Why was this an important addition to the Green Line?
Well, this station had been closed since 1948, and it fixes what was a 1.5 mile gap in the Green Line there. So this is between, two stations that were nowhere near one another. This is going to create for the DNC, a transit stop that is far closer than anything we had before, although I'll note the Pink Line tracks go closer to the United Center. But that's not what's important right now.
Good to know in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, but this is something that, local politicians like Alderman Walter Burnett have been pushing for a long time. And, he said at the unveiling that this was partially about economics and it was partially about ethnicity. This is passing through, a largely black West Side neighborhood that does not have the kinds of transit service that other parts of the city rely on. So this is really something that's been a big part of the CTA's push in recent years to close some of these equity gaps.
Some elected officials are calling on the state and the city to hit the brakes on a planned overhaul of Lakeshore Drive. Why aren't they on board with this project?
This project has been in the work for years, but this is something that's got a $3-4 billion price tag potentially to do a huge overhaul of all the lanes on North Lakeshore Drive. But what some alder people and state reps have been saying is, look, this project has not taken into account the views of residents who want to see things like bus rapid transit or better bike options or some of the lane alignments that they've come out with. They just think it's still too car focused, and they think it's not going to get the city and state where they want to be on climate goals. So this has been a project that's been in the works for years, and I think the fact that elected officials are coming out now and making a public show along with a lot of influential local planning, transportation organizations and saying, this isn't a good idea, we need to pause and rethink this, I think is pretty significant considering this is a project right now that has the imprimatur of the state and city transportation departments.
Amanda, yesterday Governor Pritzker signing legislation that would end the statewide 1% grocery tax. When can Illinoisans expect to see a little bit of a difference in their grocery bill?
A little bit is right, because it's just a 1% tax, so you're not going to be saving a ton of money. And
surely it'll be made up by the cost of food.
I'll take it.
Exactly. But this isn't going to be until 2026, so you also have to wait a little bit. We'll see how much that 1% change difference makes. But also, this is money that currently goes to local governments, and so they're also going to have built in the opportunity to institute their own tax. So you might be saving on the state side, and this is a campaign promise that I think you're going to hear about from Pritzker, whatever his political future does, but it might not actually save you any money in the long run because we are expecting a lot of those municipalities to institute it locally.
Okay, awesome. That'll be fun. As usual, it's always fun with Spotlight Politics. Thanks, Amanda, Heather, and Nick. We'll see you next week. Up next, a look at the big wins and historic moments so far for Team America at this year's Olympics. Athletes competing in the Summer Olympic Games in Paris are in the home stretch, and it's been exciting, historic, and it's got that sort of je ne sais quoi. American athletes are shining bright in the City of Light, picking up the most medals at 86, including 24 gold. Fans can continue to cheer on their favorite athletes until Sunday. That is when the games conclude. But for now, joining us via Zoom is Maggie Hendrick, an editor at Olympics.com. Maggie, thanks for fitting us in. I know it's a busy time for you.
Yeah, but I'll always be here for WTTW.
Talking about your favorite subject, too. So we know the Olympic Games, they kicked off with a little bit of controversy this year. The opening ceremony featuring some colorful moments, like a depiction of what some thought was in reference to Leonardo da Vinci's The Last Supper, a robotic horse, and a Marie Antoinette's severed head. Some are saying that you think the French have been insistent on making the Seine available for swimming.
I mean, it's a very similar thing to Chicago. The way the Chicago River goes right through the heart of the downtown, it's the same thing with the Seine. It goes right through the heart of all of the places that we hear about and we see in movies all the time when we see things happen in Paris. And so they wanted to make a centerpiece of it because they've worked really hard to clean it up, just like we have here. And so I think they really, really wanted to make it happen. And so they did. And now we're not sure about the effects. There are definitely some athletes who have said have gotten sick, but at the same time, they've tested and tested, and the levels have been what the officials have found acceptable. So it's a tough situation.
Yeah, and they've tried, I mean, it's clear that they have tried to make it a centerpiece, obviously. The opening ceremony was on the Sin, which I thought was pretty impressive, honestly. Okay, a few seconds left, Maggie. What else are you hoping to see before the Olympics close out? What are you looking forward to?
I'm really excited about women's basketball and seeing possibly Diana Taurasi become the first team sport athlete to win 6 Olympic gold medals, and the U.S. women become win their 8th straight Olympic gold medal. I had to make sure I got that right, and be the first team to ever do that.
And real quick, remind us when we can see the Olympic women play, the basketball players, since you mentioned it.
They will have a a quarterfinal game against Nigeria tomorrow at 2:00 Central.
All right, keep up, folks. All right, Maggie Hendrick, thanks so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Have a good one. And that's our show for this Tuesday night. Join us tomorrow night at 5:30 and 10. Black Lives Matter pushing back on Kamala Harris's nomination for president. And what you should know about a new state law expanding insurance coverage during and after pregnancy. Now, for all of us here at Chicago Tonight, I'm Brandis Friedman. Thank you for watching. Stay healthy and safe, and have a good night.
Closed captioning is made possible by Robert A. Clifford and Clifford Law Offices, a personal injury law firm dedicated to preserving the dignity and rights of all individuals.